the audience, today I'm going to be talking about something in the United States that is truly a lot of hot water with past and current times. It's always something that is talked about in a political discussion on both sides of the party, and it's very, very different between each side, Republican, Democratic, Green Party, whatever. It always is very different, and it definitely depends on person to person how we believe that we should handle American foreign affairs. Now, first, let me just talk about what exactly is a foreign affair. A foreign affair is, frankly, it's a very broad subject, but just to dim that down a little bit, it's things that we do to interact with another nation that either benefits us, them, or neither. But most of the time, it's to benefit one or the other nation, and normally it's the bigger nation that it comes out on top with the beneficial there. So, my first main topic is So my first main topic is, exactly where do we start with our foreign affairs, current and past. So currently, we have a lot of different foreign affairs that we are entangled with. Almost the entire world, we have some sort of affiliation with, country to country, nation to nation. It depends on how much we interact with them. A lot of them have to do with food, trade, military, and power, which are the big ones, and of course, money. I'm sure a lot of you know that most of our foreign affairs have something to do with food and oil. That's a really big one for us, is oil. We are always looking for more money. That's where most of our foreign affairs come from. And the methods that we go about doing this, there's two main methods that all political parties like to quote. And according to the U.S. State Department, or the U.S. State Department, we have three methods, which is called the helping hand method, or and this is really what most political figures like to quote because it's the least intimidating and least doesn't sound like we're that bad of people. This is basically where we lend aid of sorts. So you can take Ukraine as an example, where we're sending military presence of vehicles and stuff like that to help them fight a war against the unjust power, in our opinion. And then we also have the diplomatic approach, which is where you go in as equals and you leave as equals. You can see that really with most of the European nations that we have, such as the UK and France and a lot of other nations that we are currently allied with. You can also go to the next slide, I believe. Yeah. And then we also have the unfortunate one, which is the force method. And you can see that in a lot of nations. Mostly in the past, we don't really do this too much anymore, thankfully. Well, I can't really say that. So Iraq, Cuba, Vietnam, those places where we introduce ourselves by force into the nation via military presence to either take something that we wanted, we thought we wanted, or whatever. And so this is the good old friend of the United States. So you can see the different times where we actually interact with them. So surprisingly, we did actually have a very good relationship with Russia for a while. That shortly ended a little bit after the Cold War. And so on and so forth. You can see most of Europe we still have good interactions with. So most of the European nations we still have good interactions with, as well as going down south. But as you go towards this way, we lose our interactions with against more of the nations that have communism or used to have communism. You can go to the next slide. So my second topic is really going to be talking about some problems that we've caused in these nations. And well, there's a lot of them. So obviously all of it really boils down to is military power. That's really what we use at the end of the day in all of these interactions that end poorly. So clearly we have one of the most powerful military, in the nation. We spend the most out of anyone. It's like 45 billion or something like that. It's just an absurd amount. And well, you really see a lot of those problems when it goes into the past, such as Vietnam and Cuba. You can go to the next slide as well. And yes, this is a poor joke, but if it is a joke. So we like to think that we impose ourselves in a way that makes everything better. In reality, it doesn't. This also can be applied to Iraq and Iran, where we basically destroyed half the nation, and we claimed that we were doing better, and it really didn't work out. So that's why the joke is, Patrick, we did it, we saved the city, and this is Vietnam, if you didn't know, where we proceeded to do fire bombings because we believed that they had some sort of nuclear entity of sorts, which ended up not happening at all. So according to the CFR.org, which is the foreign affairs head topic, which is run by the UN, it's that we are the second leading nation to cause foreign affair deaths. First would actually be Russia, and we're not that far off. We're only a couple 100,000 off. So we've caused almost 45 billion deaths for the foreign affair, and that also is on us as well, like our deaths and their deaths. And this excludes World War II and World War I as well. But around 45 billion deaths, which is a truly tragic amount of people. Majority of that is not on our side, which is horrible. We've actually almost wiped out entire nations, which wasn't really talked about, like Vietnam. We killed several million people there, and all for pretty much nothing. And going to the National Archive, .gov, they talk about the reasons why we went into these wars. So according to the National Archive, there's several accounts, but according to the main one is we went into, I'm going to use Cuba for example, we imposed political and military force into Cuba due to the possibility of nuclear presence from Russia. Now, is that true? Not really, which we proved later on. Unfortunately, we still believe, some politicians still believe that they had nuclear power capability. So, in reality, the United States truly doesn't really have a firm stance on how they go about foreign affairs. But if you really look at most of our foreign affairs, and the ones that most people look at, it's all the bad ones. And even though the good ones, it still doesn't benefit both nations at all. You can still look at France and UK, where we've imposed our political presence there, not in our ideals, where they've rioted and they've done a lot of things to be free and to be more like the United States. And that's also what a lot of politicians like to call the non-in-person effect. That is just somewhat more of the things that we've caused in other nations. And there's not really a true way that we can go about a foreign affair, according to a lot of politicians. But it's a necessity that we have to have. And so I want to know, what are your opinions? You go to the next slide. I want to know, what are your opinions on foreign affairs? How do you think we should go about doing foreign affairs? Either good or bad. If you think that we shouldn't have them, or if we should have them, if we shouldn't impose military presence, if we should.